Alright, so today we're talking about Battlefield 1 in 2025 and the current state of the game 9 years later. So interestingly enough, the last video that I just did was about Titanfall 2, a game that could have done a lot better if they didn't release it right around the same time as Battlefield 1 and Call of Duty Infinite Warfare, because as much as people like to hate on that game, it still sold a shit ton of copies and actually sold more than Battlefield 1, despite Battlefield 1 just being a much better game. But Call of Duty's gonna Call of Duty and just sell millions upon millions of copies without even trying. It's always gonna be a juggernaut in the gaming industry, sadly. But BF1 is a game that holds a very special place in my heart. It's definitely one of my favorite Battlefield games, favorite FPS games of all time, between the map design, the gunplay, the overall atmosphere, the World War I aesthetic and setting. It just all created a very unique and memorable video game experience for me. And I'm happy to say that this game is still thriving in 2025. You have tens of thousands of players online on the PC version alone. You typically get 25 to 30,000 players on Steam at any given moment. And there's even more people that have the game outside of Steam, like on the EA app and Origin. So that's even more players. And then you also have a lot of players on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. And on all platforms, you have a variety of game modes that people play, between Conquest, Operations, Rush, Team Deathmatch, all the major game modes that this game had. You'll be able to find some players online, especially with Conquest, TDM, and Operations. You'll always get full servers any time of the day without even trying. As far as like which one is the definitive best version to play, well, it's obviously PC, because of the graphics being just so much better. And I'm not saying that to be a PC elitist, I'm just saying it because it's true and it's a fact. Like, if you max the game out on PC, compare that to the PS4 and Xbox One versions that are capped at a certain frame rate and resolution and graphics. Like, they're slightly enhanced. Like, you can play the game in 4K on the Series X, but it doesn't look nearly as good, obviously, as playing it maxed out on PC in 4K. And the PS5 also similarly has, you could play it at a higher resolution than the base model PS4, but it's still just like, yeah, if you have to choose, obviously, if you're playing on PC, it feels more modern, and just, it's absolutely stunning and breathtaking if you're taking the game to its limits. So, I still think it's good, though, if you're on console. It's not like Battlefield 3, which, I mean, it's not even, there's no console version anymore because the servers got shut down. Like, I think it was late 2023 that the PS3 and 360 versions closed down by EA. But, you know, with that game specifically, obviously it was like a night and day difference, a huge night and day difference between PS3 and PC. The game was barely chugging along on the PS3 for BF3, but Battlefield 1 still can hold its own on PlayStation 4, Xbox One. Still, like, 9 years later, is a pretty good experience. So if you don't have access to the PC version, don't have a gaming PC or anything like that, then it's not like, oh my god, you're totally missing out, like, so much that you're playing, like, you might as well not play it at all. No, like, it's still good, regardless of where you're playing it. So, just wanted to mention that as far as the differences between the platforms. In terms of player base, in terms of community, there isn't much of a difference. The smallest community would probably be on Xbox One, but even still, you'll have no problem getting into matches, so that's not really relevant. As far as cheaters and all that kind of stuff, I don't really encounter any of that, and I haven't really heard of that being a huge, widespread issue to the point where the game is unplayable. That was a huge problem with Battlefield 5 for a while, but that actually got fixed and addressed, so that's good. Yeah. Battlefield 1 actually has more players than Battlefield 5, so I think that says a lot to how kick-ass the game was, because Battlefield 5 came out a couple of years, too, after Battlefield 1, because that game came out in 2018, Battlefield 1 came out in 2016, so I think that says a lot that it's pretty much the most played game on Steam. It even has more players than Battlefield 2042, which is the most recent game in the series. I think that tells you all you need to know if you're kind of on the fence about trying this game out, and you're not sure if it's still worth it. I think that alone tells you what you need to know about how amazing Battlefield 1 is. Like, it's one of the greatest Battlefield experiences you'll ever have. You may not have fighter jets, but you have a goddamn blimp that you can fly. Like, there's a lot of cool shit in this game that really takes advantage of the World War I setting, even though it takes a lot of liberties, like the use of fully automatic weapons wasn't really that widespread in World War I, and there's a lot of weapons in there that were clearly never saw the light of day in actual World War I combat. So it's not an authentic World War I experience. If you want that, you can play a game like Verdun, where you're just chilling in the trenches the entire time, waiting for an enemy to pop out. So it's not realistic, but it's fun. And it explores elements that we've never really seen before in an online FPS, because World War I is very underutilized compared to World War II, and especially modern military settings. Just absolutely incredible. I'd say it's my second or third favorite Battlefield game of all time. Number 2 is probably Battlefield 4 for me, and number 1 is, without a doubt, Battlefield Bad Company 2. That's where I got started, so that's always gonna hold a special place in my heart. And we'll talk about that game in due time, because I obviously am running through all the Battlefield games. I covered 2042, Battlefield 5, now I'm at Battlefield 1. Eventually I'm going to get to 4 and 3, and all the really old games. So that's exciting. I also talked about Hardline, too, which is a pretty underrated game. Battlefield 1 I wouldn't say is underrated, because it sold pretty well, and it had a lot of positive reception, and it's still one of the most played games that's close to a decade old at this point. If only it had modern features like crossplay, that would be like the perfect experience in 2025, because you play with all your friends no matter where they play. But yeah, because it's not, because crossplay wasn't a thing in 2016. If you want to play online with friends, you're going to have to all be on the same system. All be on PC, PlayStation, Xbox, whatever. That's like the one big drawback that I would say, which, again, is not the game's fault, because it was a product of its time, but if we're just talking about 2025 playability, that's like the only negative thing that I could possibly say. But all in all, I really love it in 2025. It is still an amazing game that is especially worthwhile for those who have never played it before, and those who are Battlefield fans, which, I mean, if you're a modern Battlefield fan, going back to Battlefield 1, it's going to feel like an upgrade. Absolutely going to feel like an upgrade. If, like, you started off with 2042, if that was your first Battlefield. Yikes, I feel so sorry for you. But you can still experience pretty much all the old games. They're still playable in 2025, all of them, to certain degrees. Like, Battlefield 1 has the most amount of players out of any Battlefield game right now, followed by Battlefield 5, then 2042, and then it would be, like, 4, 3... and then all the other old games, like the really old ones, like 2 and 1942. They're all still playable in 2025, actually. So there's a lot of stuff for you to play if you're a Battlefield fan. This is definitely one of the best ones to go back to. So that's BF1 in 2025. Let me know in the comment section if you still play this game 9 years later, and what are some of your favorite memories with this game. I want you to share those in the comment section as well. But anyway, that's it for me for today. Thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace.